Santosh Chandrabalan.
So in full sentences, what kind of technologies should we be keeping our eyes open for through the next year?
Yeah, so the trends in the industry are changing quite a bit. Like offshore is a very important area. So that's an area that we should all be aware of, even though we have a lot of different growth in the onshore aspect of it as well. New technology needs to evolve for us to get offshore. So an offshore would be a good area for us to focus on.
So there have been a number of mergers and acquisitions, major ones, in the industry over the last 2 years. Do you think this will continue, or do you think something different will happen?
So I think the OEM side of the industry, consolidation should be very minimum. But in the O&M, I think it's just a starting. There's a lot more activities that should be coming ahead.
What kind of thing makes a trip to this conference a good investment for any company?
Networking is also one of the important aspects of it. Having the right people and understanding technologies combined with networking is a bonus.
If you could summarize this event in a sentence or two, what would you say?
Strong networking with a very good value in technology to learn new technologies. That should be the biggest summary of this event.
What is your personal prediction for the industry in 2017? This time next year, what big thing do you think might have happened?
Yeah. The trends continue. The green energy field is just going to grow, and wind is going to be a bigger part of it. So it's just growth, more growth.
And what particular aspect of O&M do you think is going to have the biggest impact on owners' budgets and bottom lines?
Yeah. Blade is always going to be a very big area for O&M aspect of it. So for the owner operators to make sure that they can get the extend the life of the blade is going to be key.
I think it's awful, so I just wanted to test it. What kind of people do you really want to see at this event next year?
You want to see the technology owners, like the engineering managers, engineering directors, owner operators at a very high level. So the decision makers are important to have in this event.
Has this event been a success for you?
It is, so far has been very good, and we're looking forward for the rest of the event.
Sure, Jason Choi.
Fantastic. So if you could summarize this event in one or two sentences, what would you say?
It's been a great event so far. Pretty dynamic opportunity to bring together owners, operators, suppliers, OEMs, different ISPs and stuff to bring them all together and kind of see what's happening and the different trends in this dynamic market space that we call wind O&M.
What do you feel are the main upcoming trends in wind for the next year or so?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easy one is the impact that big data and what people are able to do with it in this industry and what that'll actually mean. I think up to this point it's been a good discussion, but it'll be nice to see some solutions actually come forward that the industry can take advantage of.
So what one thing do you think will have the biggest impact on owners' budgets and bottom lines over the next year?
Owners, budgets, and bottom line. I mean, the one thing, just one, huh? Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of technology out there today, particularly by us within GE, not to make this sound like a commercial or anything like that, but increases people's revenue, right, by allowing the turbines to produce more energy, and that actually moves the bottom line for our customers and for the industry a lot more than focusing on the actual OpEx cost. They're both important.
In terms of event sizes, do you prefer large trade expos or smaller events or in between? What works well for you?
I think there's a place for both. You know, I think certainly the smaller events allow a little bit more of a personal atmosphere, easier to connect with and network-wise versus a large Congress-type event. But certainly the size and scale of a larger event allow for a variety of different participants as well.
So what technology could be from GE do you think we should be looking out for over the next few years?
I hate to sound like a broken record, but I really think that it's in that area of big data. Okay? I mean, not only diagnosing what's happening, but prognosis and then figuring out what to do with both of those data sets.
There's been some pretty major mergers and acquisitions over the past year. What do you think is going to happen next over the next year in terms of M&A?
That's a great question. You know, I think that getting to see those deals that got done this past year, I think it's hard to foresee any deal similar to that and that type of scale getting done in the near future. So I think my personal opinion is that I think it'll be quiet as the market evaluates and kind of sees where everything is going and see how the mergers and acquisitions have worked out for the folks that made them and were participating in them, and then go from there.
And finally, what does a trip to this conference make it good or bad value for money?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So what does a trip to this conference make it good or bad value for money?
I think the conference becomes a great value when you get the opportunity again to network with just a really diverse cross-section of people within our industry. Again, I think that's the best part about this conference is it just brings together all the different areas and the value chains across the O&M industry and brings them together in one spot. Gets sessions that are applicable for people, and then allows for good dialogue outside of that in the networking event like we're doing now.
You bet. My name is Jeff Walkup.
So Jeff, if you could summarize this event in one or two sentences, what would you say?
I think it's a phenomenal event. It gives the opportunity for all of us in the industry to be amongst one another. The power of networking is really huge. Also, one of the big themes around here is transparency. I'm really seeing that quite a bit. Being able to gather and share data amongst the OEMs, and then service providers like myself. Very important. Small industry, small world, so you run into a lot of people that you know. Very good event, very helpful for us.
So what aspect of the event were you most looking forward to?
I'm always looking forward to be able to get in front of our customers, not only our current customers, but potential customers that I can take our product to, that we can educate other individuals about some of the solutions and things that are there. So there's a lot of good things that I've really enjoyed here, but with all things, the networking is phenomenal. It's very good for all of us to be in one place and one location.
So across O&M in general, what do you think are going to be the main upcoming trends in the wind power era?
Oh, absolutely. Very good question. I think there's a lot of good significant things, but being here in North America with the passing of the PTC, I think there's a lot of security and a lot of stability the next few years where everybody's they're not going to be gun shy about going after and being proactive and aggressive about solutions. So I think it's a good time for all of us in our industry, and I think the sky is the limit. The potential is unlimited.
So on that topic, there have been a number of major mergers and acquisitions over the past 2 years. What do you think is going to happen over the next year? Will this continue, or will something different happen?
No, absolutely. I believe it will continue to happen, as within, like even in the banking industry. Banks don't fail, they merge. So when I look at some of the various OEMs that are out there, for example, Vestas and Gamesa, I think those are huge, strategic, significant mergers that are going to happen, and I believe we'll see more of that.
What makes a trip to this conference good value for money?
That's very good. A lot of logistics, a lot of resources to get our team here. We spend a tremendous amount of money, but at the end of the day, we come here, we look at our return on investment, we monitor KPIs, the number of people we can get before, the feedback, and plus the opportunity for us to be able to share our message to the market, to be able to speak to an audience. It's very successful, very good, and we've definitely enjoyed it and seeing a lot of early fruits.
So what single thing do you think will have the biggest impact on the bottom lines of owners and their budgets?
I think the single biggest impact that will be here for us is the fact that as we've launched into a new market from Graham and Joule in North America, the opportunity for us to get in front of the customers who can see that we're here, and we're here to do business on their terms, their time, and present solutions to them and things that they understand.
And finally, what technology should we be keeping our eyes open for?
I think, as with all things, as technology get better, technology allows things to become faster and allows competition and prices to come down. So I think at the end of the day, those are very, very good things for us to watch. Competition does make us all better. We have to be aware of that, and our targeted customers' budgets to be able to offer solutions that they can justify with their economic buyers.
My name is Gorka Parada, Chief Revenue Officer for NEM Solutions in Spain.
All right, Gorka. If you could summarize this event in one or two sentences, what would you say?
I would say it's a great opportunity to meet key players in the market, great stakeholders, great opportunity to promote your products to a high quality audience.
What do you feel are the main upcoming trends in the wind industry by 2017?
I think we're going to see more mergers and acquisitions in the market. I think the tendency is for a big consolidation of big players, and then there will be companies surrounding those big groups. But I think there's a big trend that's going to be towards mergers and acquisitions.
What technology do you think we should all be keeping our eyes open for over the next 12 months?
Well, obviously, data analytics is a big thing. Some companies like NAM Solutions have been doing it for years, but I think staying away from big data and going to smart data, I think that's going to be the way to go, and how you implement that in the business plan.
So this is a question thinking about owners. What do you think is going to be the one thing that's going to have the biggest impact on their budgets and bottom lines over the next year or so?
The right implementation of new technology. Really understanding how that's going, the arrival of new technology, how that's going to impact what they do, and when they finally decide whether they're going to do things in-house or they're going to outsource and rely on external parties, I think that's really going to mark a difference in between what they are doing now and what they can do in the future. The scalability of new technology within the within the owners.
So what market opportunity do you think people should be keeping their eyes open for?
I think South America is going to boom. Brazil, for example. And there'll be new business models both in the US and in Europe. Mature markets will see, in my opinion, new business models, new ways of doing things, and the consolidation of Asia as well. So that's what I see.
So why do you keep coming back to this conference?
The event is growing, is bigger and bigger every year. I was not expecting this attendance. You guys kept telling us that it was growing. I didn't really picture that extra attendance. I didn't picture it in my mind, and it's proven to be a successful event. I think more and more key players and stakeholders are showing up, and I think really it's the reference event in the US for wind energy onshore at least. So we're quite happy with that.
My name is Eli Tavares. I am Executive Vice President of Sentient Science. I have been with Sentient Science for 5 years, first as an advisory board member and most recently as Executive Vice President.
Fantastic. So, if you could summarize this event in a sentence or two, what would you say?
The changes in the event from last year are interesting because we have a lot of content around data. Data is becoming the currency of predictive analytics and operations and maintenance and cost control. So for me, I see a lot of different subjects around big data. A lot of the OEMs and service providers are all bringing solutions to the table to manage data.
Fantastic. So what would you say are some of the main upcoming trends in the industry that we should be watching out for?
I think the two most important trends, first of all, machines are getting bigger. Right? There is a call for more energy, more efficient energy, and the OEMs are working on technology to bring bigger, more energy efficient machines to market. The biggest challenge that brings with it is that there is a complexity to this equipment that brings the chance and the advent of failure right to the front. So predictive analytics becomes more and more important, and the collection of the amount of data that is being generated by these machines and the equipment that's on them grows exponentially. So our ability to collect that data, to analyze that data and understand what signals it's giving us and how we behave and manage our operations and maintenance activities is becoming more and more prevalent.
In your opinion, what do you think will be the biggest disruption to the wind market between now and 2018?
I think we're moving towards a cliff that is initiated by the number of machines that are coming off of warranty. That will require a new look at how we contract for services and whether or not the equipment can be extended. There's a huge push towards taking the original 20-year life for these machines and extending that to 30 and 35 years. That's going to require a focus on how the equipment can be upgraded, if the equipment can be upgraded. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that's going to impact the market in the next 2 years, 3 years.
So what technology do you think the industry should be keeping its eyes on over the next few years?
Hands down, sentient science. It has to be. The ability to create a failure curve that you can plan your business, both your operations and maintenance costs and your procurement expenses, over the long term without having historical failure data is by far the most important thing that operators will face. And those curves right now, big data is being thrown at that problem. The challenge with big data in that problem is that it doesn't bring to bear the time element that you need in producing a meaningful predictive failure curve. And I think that's what sentient science brings to the table.
So there have been a number of major mergers and acquisitions in the wind industry over the last 2 years. Do you think this will continue, or will something different happen?
The consolidation in the market has been driven by two things. Number one, it's just that there is a land grab, and on the OEM side, we've seen consolidation with Siemens gobbling up Gamesa and a number of other acquisitions. The second thing that's driving that is a broadening of offerings. So we've seen some OEMs pick up services companies, and I think that's a trend in that the revenue streams for just selling the hardware is no longer enough to stabilize a company. So they have to broaden their offering, and the acquisitions of some of the notable services companies in the marketplace is evidence of that.
And finally, what do you think makes this conference, a trip to this conference, a great investment for a company?
It made a lot of sense to have our folks here. We are square in the middle of the data issue that I brought up earlier. Whether you look at a big data solution or a smart data and physics solution, it made sense for our folks to come and understand where our solution with a physics-based model and a predictive solution that's based on physics, where that fits into this mix. And we heard a lot of input from some of the notable data management companies and some of the OEMs here. So I think it's very evident that the trend is headed where our technology is, and our people need to hear that.
I'm John Solomon, Technical Services Manager for EDF Renewable Services.
Fantastic. If you could summarize this event in just a sentence or two, what would you say?
Amazing collection of everything going on in the wind industry, all packed into 2 days of meetings, discussions, and networking.
Fantastic. What do you feel are some of the main upcoming trends in the wind area?
Oh, I think we're getting much more data driven on the health of wind turbines. The maintenance and repair of those things is getting more sophisticated. So I think we're just becoming more advanced in those areas.
What do you think is going to have what single issue do you think is going to have the biggest impact on owners' budgets and bottom lines by 2018?
I think it might be upcoming blade issues, increased blade maintenance and repair issues that have not all been realized yet.
What kind of technology do you think we should be keeping our eyes open for over the next few years?
Condition monitoring, new technologies coming into that where you can actually monitor blades and other components. We've already we have some good systems that work well on the drivetrain, but there's other health monitoring systems that will come into play as well.
Fantastic. And what do you think makes a trip to Dallas for this conference a good investment for a company such as yourself?
I think there's a great investment from both the learning side and being able to pick up on the new events and happenings in the industry, and also on the networking side, being able to connect with a lot of companies, whether they are our customers or we are their customers. There's a great connection with in that regard.
My name's Judah Moseson. I'm currently an independent energy consultant in the wind energy business.
If you could summarize this event in just a sentence or two, what would you say?
Well, first I'd say it's fantastic, but the best part about it is the culmination of people from varying areas within the industry. The best part is the owners, the vendors, those new, those old to the industry, everybody sharing.
Fantastic. What do you feel are the main upcoming trends in wind power?
Growth. In the U.S., the growth is being driven by the government's PTC, but I see growth not only in expansion of new wind farms, but also in services provided to the wind farms. But that's just looking at the United States. I would say the greatest emerging area is Latin America. From Mexico to South America is the way the United States was 10 plus years ago.
What will be the biggest disruption to the wind market between now and 2018?
Well, for me, some of the greatest benefits and some of the greatest barriers come from the same place, and that's regulation and government. They tend to make or break the industry based on the rules they create, and so I'm always concerned that that could be a barrier.
And finally, what do you think makes this conference a good investment for owners?
Well, for owners especially, they're exposed to all the latest gadgets that are available to improve their wind turbines, but the best part is they're exposed to the other owners, and that they have an opportunity to share common troubles and solutions. So it's a great benefit for them.
Sean Lamb, CEO of U.S. Operations for the Danish Wind Power Academy Americas.
Fantastic. If you could summarize this event in just a sentence or two, what would you say?
I would say it's a good opportunity for people to meet in a closed setting that's intimate versus some of the larger conferences I've been to that you kind of get lost in the crowd and it's hard to find people. Here. It's easy to find people and talk and set up meetings with those who you want to meet with.
What do you feel are some of the major trends that are upcoming in wind at the moment?
I think some of the innovation, so obviously big data, obviously condition monitoring is important, but also innovation in fixing gearboxes up tower like Moventus does, and the self-hoisting cranes like Liftra. Those are going to be game changers in the future for major correctives.
What do you think is going to be the biggest disruption to the wind market between now and 2018?
I think the stair step down of the PTC is going to kind of force people to make decisions on long-term, financial models, and it'll tighten the industry. But we do have the PTC for another few years, so that's going to help also.
What kind of technology should we be keeping our eyes on?
I think really the lifter crane is a game changer. I think the up tower repair, the planetary stages, those two are really innovative in this last few years. Also the Romo technology of their I-spin technology is pretty innovative. I enjoy all those technologies. So.
Sure, and finally, what do you think makes a trip to this conference a great investment?
Just having all the customers and having all the major players in the wind industry in one small intimate setting is very important for me.
My name is Jochem Sauer. I'm the founder and managing director of Spares Motion, and Spares Motion is the trading platform for the wind turbine industry.
Fantastic. If you could summarize this event in a sentence or two, what would you say?
Really talking to people. We are an internet platform, and internet is a perfect tool, but really talking to the people that can make the difference.
There have been a number of major mergers and acquisitions over the last 2 years. Do you think this will continue, or will something different happen?
When you compare the wins to other industries, you see that in the end, 3 or 4 the strongest will survive. We are by far not there, so I assume it will continue. And I also don't think if it's bad or good for the industry. I don't have really an opinion on that.
Fantastic. What kinds of new technologies do you think we should be keeping our eyes on in the coming years?
Especially predictive maintenance. That's one of the things we will see more and more. An up-tower repair to reduce cost.
And what do you think makes a trip to this conference a good investment for your company?
For my company, is what I started with is to really talk to the people. We talk a lot on the phone, but when you're sitting face to face with people you know by phone, but then you have a face, that's a real value for me. And at this conference are really business leaders from all different kind of companies, from utilities to wind turbine OEMs to component OEMs. So for us it was a real good investment.
I'm Jeff Weiner, I'm the Vice President of Operations for Duke Energy Renewables.
Fantastic. If you could summarize this event in just a sentence or two, what would you say?
I'd say that it's a pretty exciting event that has real cross attendant support from various organizations and various renewable energy industries.
What do you think makes a trip to this conference a great investment for Duke Energy?
Given the participation rate, it's really convenient to meet and interact with the suppliers, operators, and OEMs.
And comparing this event to last year, is there anything that you think has really improved?
More attendance is great. A good overview of the market and the direction where this arena is going is very beneficial.
Fantastic. So what do you feel are the main upcoming trends in wind power over the next 2 years?
Increased focus on operating costs and being more efficient in operating these assets.
What do you think is going to be the biggest disruption to the wind market between maybe now and 2018?
I think the biggest disruption would be disruptive technologies, new overlays that you put on the existing assets that would operate them more efficiently.
And there have been a number of major mergers and acquisitions over the last 2 years in wind. Do you think this will continue, or do you think something different is going to happen?
We'd like to think that we started that trend when we acquired Outland Energy, and everyone is catching up to us, of course. But I definitely think that sort of effort is going to continue.